My wife cheated with her ex and mocked that I'd never leave, until I released the video that took away her fame, her fans, and left her with nothing. My world turned upside down when I uncovered the truth about my wife's betrayal. I'm a 28-year-old man, and just 3 weeks ago, I learned that Bianca, my 27-year-old wife of less than a year, had been unfaithful. The revelation shattered the life we had built together, a life I thought was rooted in mutual trust and shared promises. When we first met, Bianca shared that she had recently ended a 3-year relationship with her ex-boyfriend and was single, ready to start anew. I, too, was unattached, having stepped back from dating for 2 years after a previous relationship left me emotionally scarred. Our shared vulnerability created a bond, and we vowed to protect each other from the pain of betrayal. I was determined to honor that promise, and I believed Bianca would do the same. Our courtship spanned over 2 years, a period filled with joy that surpassed anything I had experienced with past partners. Bianca had a radiant charm, a natural gift for humor that could light up any room. Her laughter was infectious, and her ability to make those around her feel at ease was unmatched. Those early days of our marriage were a continuation of that bliss, moments brimming with shared jokes, spontaneous adventures, and a sense of partnership that felt unbreakable. I cherished every second I spent with her, looking forward to coming home to her warmth. While Bianca thrived as a social media influencer, managing her online store with creativity and flair, I worked as a data analyst at a prominent tech firm in our town. My job was demanding, often pulling me away from the time I promised to dedicate to her. There were months when I missed our planned dates twice, caught up in urgent tasks at the office or simply forgetting we had commitments together. Each time I faltered, I made it up to her with small gestures, her favorite Snickers bars or a box of chocolates that never failed to bring a smile to her face. Those moments of reconciliation felt like enough to keep our connection strong. 6 months into our marriage, my company introduced a new work arrangement, allowing me to work remotely for 3 weeks each month and spend only 1 week on site. This change was a blessing, a chance to reclaim the time I had lost to my demanding job and pour it back into our relationship. Bianca, whose influencer work was already remote, was thrilled at the prospect of us spending more time together. It felt like a return to the early days of our romance, when every moment was an opportunity to deepen our bond. We laughed more, planned more, and reveled in the comfort of each other's company. But within those first 4 weeks of working from home, a subtle shift in Bianca's behavior began to gnaw at me. Her phone, an essential tool for her influencer career, was always in her hand, but I noticed something new. Whenever I approached her, she would swiftly switch apps, her fingers moving with a practice speed that betrayed her casual demeanor. Even from a distance, I could sense the change in her posture, the way her shoulders tensed as she navigated away from whatever she was doing. Her laptop, too, became a guarded secret. If I entered the room or spoke, she would snap it shut, her face a mask of nonchalance that didn't quite reach her eyes. These actions were fleeting, almost imperceptible, but I had been watching her closely, and the pattern was unmistakable. The unease grew until I could no longer ignore it. One evening, unable to bear the weight of my suspicions, I confronted her. My voice was steady, but inside, I was a storm of doubt and fear. Bianca dismissed my concerns with a laugh, calling them absurd. She insisted she had nothing to hide and, to prove it, invited me to look at her laptop. The screen displayed innocuous work-related content, and she scrolled through her social media conversations, all of which seemed strictly professional. It was the first time in our 2.5-year relationship that she had willingly shared her chats with me. During our dating years, we had open access to each other's phones, a gesture of trust that I never abused. I respected the confidentiality of her client interactions and had no reason to pry. Her sudden openness should have reassured me, but it didn't. Instead, it deepened my suspicion. It was out of character for her to volunteer such transparency, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was curating what I saw, showing me only what she wanted me to believe. My instincts, honed by past betrayals and countless stories I'd read online, screamed that something was wrong. I didn't bring up the issue again, choosing instead to observe her quietly, determined to separate fact from paranoia. I wrestled with my thoughts, questioning whether I was projecting my fears onto her. My last relationship had ended in infidelity, leaving scars that made me hypervigilant, perhaps overly so. But Bianca's actions, the quick app switches, the guarded laptop, the subtle shifts in her behavior, were too consistent to dismiss. I needed to know the truth, not just for my peace of mind but to protect the future we had planned together. The thought of being deceived again was unbearable, yet I clung to the hope that I was wrong, that Bianca was the person I believed her to be. Days later, Bianca hosted a small gathering at our home with a few of her influencer friends. The evening was filled with laughter and good company, a reminder of the life we had built. But Bianca seemed distracted, her attention tethered to her phone. Between bites of food and shared stories, she texted incessantly, her fingers flying across the screen. Her friends noticed, too, and one of them playfully asked who she was messaging so urgently. Caught off guard, Bianca looked up, her eyes meeting a table full of curious stares. She dropped her phone onto the table with a forced smile, claiming it was work-related and that she was done. The moment passed, but the air felt heavier, the unspoken tension lingering as we resumed our meal. After the guests left, as we cleaned up the remnants of the evening, Bianca brought up the client she had been texting. She explained that he wanted her to become a brand ambassador for a skincare line, a year-long commitment. It was the kind of conversation couples have, but it felt out of place for us. Bianca rarely discussed her clients or their proposals. We kept our professional lives separate, respecting each other's space. Her sudden willingness to share details struck me as an attempt to preempt any questions, to offer an explanation before I could demand one. I nodded along, feigning interest, but my mind was racing. Her words felt rehearsed, a carefully constructed narrative to cover something deeper. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something significant, and I was determined to uncover it. The suspicion gnawed at me, but I knew checking her phone or laptop directly would yield nothing. Bianca was too careful, too aware of her digital footprint. Instead, I turned to a more covert approach. I found an app that allowed me to monitor her phone activity, calls, messages, and more, by linking our devices. Installing it on both our phones felt like a betrayal of the trust we had built, but my need for answers outweighed my guilt. I justified it to myself, remembering the pain of my past, the red flags I had ignored before. I couldn't let history repeat itself. The app confirmed what I feared. Bianca was in constant contact with someone who wasn't a client. She was meticulous, avoiding calls when I was home, but her messages revealed a connection that went beyond professional boundaries. My heart sank when I discovered the identity of her contact. It was her ex-boyfriend, the same one she claimed to have cut ties with years ago. The realization hit me like a physical blow, a mix of betrayal and disbelief that left me reeling. A few days after our tense exchange, Bianca hosted a small gathering at our home, inviting a handful of her fellow influencers. The evening was meant to be a light-hearted escape, a chance to reconnect with her world of glamour and charisma. The table was adorned with carefully curated dishes, the kind Bianca loved to showcase on her social media, and the room buzzed with laughter and easy conversation. I played the role of the gracious host, smiling and engaging with her friends, but my attention was fixed on her. Bianca was there, physically present, but her mind seemed elsewhere. Her phone, ever present in her hand, demanded her focus. Between bites of food and bursts of laughter, she texted incessantly, her fingers dancing across the screen with a rhythm that felt secretive. It wasn't the usual flurry of posts or client responses, it was something more deliberate, more personal. Her friends noticed too, their glances lingering as she typed. Finally, one of them, a bold woman with a sharp wit, broke the silence. "Who's got your attention, Bianca?" she asked, her tone teasing but pointed. The room stilled, all eyes turning to my wife. Bianca's head snapped up, her expression caught off guard. She set her phone down with a deliberate thud, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Just work," she said lightly, "but I'm done now." The words hung in the air, unconvincing, but no one pressed further. We resumed our meal, the laughter resuming but tinged with an undercurrent of unease. As the guests departed, leaving behind a trail of empty glasses and half-eaten desserts, Bianca and I began cleaning up. The silence between us was palpable, a stark contrast to the lively chatter of the evening. Then, unprompted, she brought up the client she had been texting. She spoke with an unusual eagerness, explaining that he wanted her to serve as a brand ambassador for a skincare line, a year-long commitment that could elevate her career. Her voice was animated, but it felt rehearsed, like a performance meant to deflect suspicion. In our marriage, we had always kept our professional lives separate. Bianca never shared details about her clients, and I never discussed the intricacies of my data analysis work. It was an unspoken agreement, one that allowed us to maintain our individual identities. Her sudden openness about this supposed client felt like a calculated move, an attempt to explain away her behavior before I could question it. I nodded, offering a faint smile, but inside, my thoughts were a whirlwind. Why now? Why this sudden need to justify her actions? The more she spoke, the more convinced I became that she was hiding something. I kept my responses minimal, masking the storm brewing in my mind. 1,000 possibilities raced through my head, each one darker than the last. I knew that searching her phone or laptop directly would be futile. Bianca was too meticulous, too aware of her digital footprint to leave evidence in plain sight. Her behavior during our confrontation, showing me curated conversations and innocuous laptop activity, only confirmed her ability to cover her tracks. I needed a way to see beyond the facade she presented, to uncover the truth she was so carefully guarding. That's when I stumbled upon the idea of using a monitoring app, a tool that could grant me access to her calls, messages, and activities without her knowledge. The decision to install it on both our phones weighed heavily on me. It felt like a betrayal of the trust we had built, a violation of the vows we had made to be open and honest. But the memory of my past relationship, where I had ignored red flags until it was too late, pushed me forward. I couldn't afford to be naive again. The pain of being cheated on had left me with a vigilance that bordered on obsession, and I was determined not to repeat my mistakes. Installing the app was a quiet act of desperation, a last resort to confirm or dispel my fears. Once the app was set up, I began my investigation, my heart pounding with a mix of dread and anticipation. The app revealed a side of Bianca I hadn't seen. She was indeed communicating with her clients, as expected, but there was another thread, a daily exchange with someone who wasn't part of her professional circle. She was careful, never taking his calls when I was home, never letting her guard down in my presence. 2 days after linking our phones, I overheard her first conversation with him, and the truth hit me like a freight train. It was her ex-boyfriend, the same one she had assured me was out of her life forever. Their words were casual, familiar, laced with an intimacy that made my stomach churn. He knew she was married, knew I worked from home, and yet their conversation carried on as if my existence was a mere inconvenience. That evening, Bianca sent me on an errand to pick up groceries, claiming she had forgotten to grab a few items. It was a simple request, one I didn't think twice about at the time. As I drove to the store, the app alerted me to a call. I pulled over, my hands trembling as I listened. Her ex asked about me, and Bianca's response was chilling. She laughed, explaining that she had forgotten the groceries on purpose to get me out of the house, giving them time to talk uninterrupted. The casual cruelty in her voice was unlike anything I had heard from her before. She spoke of me with a dismissive pity, as if I were a pawn in her game. "Jackie would never leave me," she said, her tone mocking. "He loves me too much, poor thing." Her ex laughed, and they continued planning their meeting for later that evening, their words dripping with a shared secrecy that made my blood run cold. The betrayal was no longer a suspicion, it was a reality, laid bare in their laughter and scheming. I sat in my car, the grocery store forgotten, grappling with the realization that the woman I loved had been deceiving me all along. The drive home was a blur, my heart pounding with rage as the words I'd overheard through the app echoed in my mind. Bianca's mocking tone, her ex's laughter, their casual dismissal of my love, it was a betrayal that cut deeper than I could have imagined. When I stepped through the door, Bianca greeted me with a question about the groceries I was supposed to have picked up. Her voice was light, almost innocent, but it grated against the raw wound of her deception. I mumbled a lie about an urgent call from the office, claiming I'd been summoned to submit a report. She nodded, accepting the excuse without question, her trust in my words a cruel irony given what I now knew. By the time I returned, she was already dressed to go out, her makeup meticulously applied, her outfit a vibrant contrast to the dull ache in my chest. She announced she was meeting her girlfriends for a night out and would be back before midnight. Then, with a kiss on my cheek that felt like a mockery of our vows, she left. The door clicked shut, and the silence that followed was suffocating. As soon as she was gone, I called my closest friend, my voice trembling as I poured out the truth I'd uncovered. He listened, his anger mirroring mine, and offered to accompany me to the restaurant where Bianca was headed. I didn't hesitate. We drove in tense silence, the weight of what I was about to do pressing down on me. When we arrived, the sight that greeted me was worse than I'd imagined. There was Bianca, nestled close to her ex-boyfriend, their intimacy unmistakable as he fed her a bite of food, their laughter a private world that excluded me. My heart shattered, but I forced myself to move. I walked toward their table, my steps deliberate, ensuring she saw me. Her eyes widened in shock, her face a mask of panic as she registered my presence and my friend standing nearby. Without a word, I turned and walked out, the air thick with the weight of her betrayal. She scrambled after me, her heels clicking against the floor, her voice calling my name. At first, she tried to play innocent, claiming it was a business meeting, but the sight of my friend recording her silenced her pretense. She stammered an excuse, that she was meeting a client, that it wasn't what it looked like, but I couldn't bear to respond. My silence was my shield, and I clung to it as my friend and I drove back to our apartment. When Bianca returned home, her attempts to explain herself fell on deaf ears. I was already packing, my movements mechanical as I gathered my clothes and essentials. The apartment, a space we'd rented together, felt like a prison I couldn't escape. I couldn't force her to leave, so I chose to go instead, taking only what I needed and leaving with my friend that night. The days that followed were a barrage of messages and calls from Bianca, each one a desperate attempt to rewrite the narrative. After weeks of ignoring her, she resorted to voice notes, weaving a new web of lies. She claimed her ex was connecting her to a major client, that she'd felt cold in her thin dress, and that his attempt to warm her explained their closeness. It was a flimsy story, one she hoped I'd swallow, unaware that I still had access to her conversations through the app. Her words were a cruel reminder of her deceit, each lie a fresh wound. Just 3 days ago, I uncovered more through the app. Bianca had been working on a lucrative contract for over 2 months, and her ex was an employee of the brand she was promoting. There was a sliver of truth in her story, but it was overshadowed by their reckless behavior. They'd been disparaging the company's products, mocking their quality in private messages. I knew this was a violation of her contract, a scandal waiting to explode. If the company discovered her actions, her career would be ruined, her carefully curated public image shattered. I held the video my friend had recorded, a damning piece of evidence, but I hadn't yet shared it online. Despite my anger, I was torn. Bianca had spent years building a pristine reputation, weathering minor online criticism but never facing serious repercussions from her brand partners. The thought of destroying that legacy gave me pause, not out of mercy but because I was grappling with the wreckage of my own emotions. I wanted her to feel the pain she'd inflicted, to pay for using me as a prop in her perfect life. Yet, the idea of erasing the video and their conversations lingered, a fleeting impulse to let it all go. My heart was a storm of betrayal and disillusionment. I had believed in our future, in the family we'd build together, but Bianca's actions revealed a truth I couldn't ignore. She wanted it all, the adoring husband, the glamorous career, the secret affair, without consequence. I thought of the sacrifices I'd made, the love I'd poured into our marriage, only to be met with her mockery. Why do people marry if trust is so easily discarded? Her lies, even when caught red-handed, were a final insult, a refusal to acknowledge the truth staring her in the face. Part of me wondered why I hesitated to share the video. Perhaps it was the last remnant of the love I once felt, or maybe it was the fear of becoming the villain in her story. But deep down, I knew the world deserved to see the real Bianca, not the polished facade she presented online. The truth, however painful, was all I had left. I married Bianca because she looked like she was the one. Besides that, I fell in love with her personality, not her profession, and we dated for almost 3 years. Also, I took my time with her before we married to get to know her well, and I thought I knew her well enough before marrying. She told me she had cut off ties with her ex-boyfriend and would never have anything to do with him again, even if he were the last man on earth. Her words. I guess I was dumb to fall for her words. My only joy is that I took action immediately after I started suspecting her. Maybe if I still wanted to be the good husband who showers his wife with enough benefits of doubt, I would still be stuck with her now and would be innocently helping her pick the perfect outfit for a girl's night out. So, for my revenge plan, I have posted the video of Bianca and her affair partner captured at the restaurant where they were supposedly snuggled into each other. The video was not received well by her fans, who called her a cheater. I also leaked the conversation between Bianca and her lover where they were bad-mouthing the brand. The good news is that the company she influenced has terminated their contract with her, and her boyfriend has been fired too. Also, Bianca and her boyfriend had been saying all sorts of bad things about a particular product she was promoting, and they talked about how the company had been ripping people off with their substandard product. Bianca was forced to make an online apology. She had to take back everything she said and then had to deal with the company afterward. When this happened, it not only ruined her reputation with the company that fired her but also caused a ripple effect with her other contracts. Other brands had to end their contracts with her because of how her video and chat spread like wildfire. Because of this, she was literally left with nothing at the end of it all. As if ruining her influencer reputation was not enough, the headlines carried her name about the video of her cheating on her husband. It was so satisfying to have friends call and ask if what they saw online was true, and I assured them that it was. Also, before I shared the video and conversation online, I sent it to her parents. I told them it was officially over between Bianca and me. I also said some crappy things about Bianca and how she was a disgrace to herself and womanhood. Then I blocked both their numbers from calling. 2 days ago, Bianca showed up at my office and created a scene. I told security I wouldn't see her, but she refused to leave. She wasn't even allowed into the building, but she kept yelling my name and was kicked off the property. As it stands, since that evening I moved out of the house, I haven't seen her face to face. I'd only been following her on Facebook and Instagram to see how messed up everything had been for her. Thank you, everyone, for your kind suggestions and advice. Honestly, yeah, if she's supposed to be influencing people, I think people deserve a right to know who they're following. I'm sorry she turned out to be a complete stranger. Bianca found out that I was the one who leaked the conversation and video online. Maybe her parents told her, but I'm not sure. She was livid when she came to my friend's house, where I was crashing after leaving my apartment. When Bianca came, she started yelling that I had ruined her life and promised she would destroy mine too. She said so many horrible things. One of them was that she regretted marrying me and claimed she didn't know what she saw in a lowlife like me to marry me. She said many rude things and became violent when she saw my friend recording her again. Because of her anger, she picked up a huge stone from my friend's lawn and threw it at the window from where my friend was recording her. The stone cracked the window, and my friend's phone fell while he hurried to pull his hand inside the house. I was so furious and went outside to confront her. In the process of us yelling at each other, she brought out a small penknife and slashed all 4 tires of my car in my presence. Then she used the knife tip to scratch a long line from the front door to the back door and said, "Well, how do you like your new car?" Then she left. I've never been so angry in my life. Right now, I cannot move my car unless I change all 4 tires, and I cannot drive the car around with the long scratch mark. My friend insisted that I sue her in court, and he had everything recorded from inside the house. He will also be suing her for the damage to his window, and he isn't even joking about it. I've decided to sue Bianca because I cannot let her get away with the damage she did. She will pay every penny it costs to replace all tires and spray paint my car. Concerning her social media presence, she has been very quiet lately. The rave about her infidelity and bad-mouthing the brand she was promoting has gone down, but she has not been making her Instagram live videos, reels, and other things she used to. I also forgot to mention that many people unfollowed her, mainly because of the video. They even found it difficult to believe that she would do such a thing in her first year of marriage, which was meant to be our honeymoon phase. Anyway, what has happened has happened. I cannot condone infidelity just to look perfect in the eyes of people I don't even know. Meanwhile, I appreciate your support in me suing Bianca for the damages she caused. My friend and I sued Bianca for damages, and the court ruled in our favor. Can you all believe Bianca tried to deny shattering my friend's window and slashing my tires? She said I was jealous because she left me for her ex-boyfriend, and I slashed the tires to frame her. She didn't even remember that she was being recorded by my friend, and all the evidence we needed was in that video. We told the judge we had a video of her slashing my tires, and the judge asked to see it. When the judge found out she was lying, she was angry. She asked for an estimate of what it would cost to replace all 4 tires and spray paint that part of my car, and I showed it to her. I followed your suggestion and checked for the cost of everything plus workmanship. The judge gladly asked her to pay for them that same day. She had a case with my friend. The judge didn't let her lie or defend herself because she had seen the video of Bianca being violent and throwing the stone at my friend's window. She also ruled in my friend's favor, and Bianca was pissed. I enjoyed looking at her angry facial expression. I was thinking her dear boyfriend would be around to support her, but he didn't show up. 2 weeks after the court case, the divorce papers were ready, and I had the lawyer send them to her. She didn't even waste time signing them, and we concluded everything. Watching her play victim in the circumstance she created for herself was funny. I'm now happy to announce that Bianca is officially a part of my past. Unlike her, who goes back on her words, I'll never have anything to do with her again. It's ridiculous to think that she thought her perfect image was untouchable. She made a living in front of the camera, and it's ironic that that's how she met her demise. Her perfection unraveled before us all. Did you really want to be in a relationship with someone who tries too hard to be someone they aren't? You were way too good for her. She had no idea what to do with someone so genuine.